Hey, Evan.
Hey, Nathan.
I'm about to tell you something that no guy wants to hear.
What's that?
Size matters.
Cue intro.
Alright, what do I mean when I say size matters? Now, you, Evan, know that I have had beef with a few parts of 5th edition,
Yes.
but the one that, besides the F word, that I bring up the most often, I think, is size and sizing.
We've talked about it briefly before.
And how sizes work with monsters in 5th edition,
Yep.
and how it's stupid,
Yep.
and I hate it, and
Yep.
it's dumb.
Yep. Care to elaborate?
So I have two reasons.
Major beefs?
No.
Oh.
I have two subjects
Okay.
to talk about why size matters. One of which is the size of the enemy, and then one of which is the size of the room that the enemy is going to be in.
Okay.
So I think both are really important.
Okay.
And I think that the second one is often underlooked.
Sure.
So, I think that the way that the 5th edition sizing works is incredibly restrictive.
Yes.
I think that a Tarrasque and an adult dragon should not be the same size, or even like an ancient dragon. And I also think, although this was true in 3rd and every edition and is more so a personal thing, that squares suck. And I honestly believe it wouldn't be that hard. I understand it would be a little more complicated to just give size as an X by X measurement,
Yeah.
because that makes more sense. And then
It's easier to visualize.
it is way easier to visualize. I think that small, huge, blah, blah, blah can stay. I think that should be height.
Oh.
So this is kind of a personal thing.
Okay.
But I definitely think that, it just, every time that I see, a huge monster or a large monster, every monster in the monster manual is large. Like, not actually, that's truthful, obviously, but to me it feels that way.
Yeah.
And then it kind of ruined, every description. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this. It feels very samey.
Okay.
Um,
How so?
because, if a bullet and a giant are both large, let's say.
Yeah.
Even if a giant's huge, or like a cyclops is large, whatever.
Yeah.
Even if I'm wrong, that's fine. I can understand why they're both large, but they're both large in completely different ways.
Yeah, no, that's true. Bullets are long.
Bullets are long and stocky.
Yeah.
And then giants are tall and thick boys, right?
Yeah.
They're almost bodybuilder-esque. But they just fall under the same category. So
Yeah.
it's so broad that it doesn't give you a lot of not explanation to help kind of see what they look like. But I just think that it's kind of silly, because also then if you're a bullet could fit in a 30 by 30 by 20 room very easily, your standard room, but something like a giant probably wouldn't be able to even get in there. But per the size category, both of them are totally fine to be in there, and then that just doesn't really make much sense to me. And also this plays into the second thing that I was talking about, where the sizes of rooms, I don't know how much thought goes into it.
Okay.
Because different battlefields allow for different things to happen, right?
Absolutely.
So for example, I was creating a warehouse encounter for my players once, where I purposefully made the room super cluttered, bunch of boxes, very small. Nobody got more than 5 feet anywhere. All the walkways were 5 feet thick. And then all of the enemies were also medium. So that way, it forced almost one-on-one combat. I could corner my players, they could corner the end. It was all about playing smart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that if I have a dragon,
Yeah, no.
because that just doesn't make sense, right?
No.
Then I'm going to have this huge 300 by 300 cavern, and what that does is you have to be able to understand what your monsters want to be doing with their size, and then how to play into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, with the dragon, you need to give it room to fly around. You need to give it room to, like, do its attacks. But with something like a pixie in the Fae, let's say, you would want to do that, like, crowded, bunch of place to hide and dart behind, that kind of thing.
You got to plan it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you're just in a cave and you say, like, oh, you go into a 30 by 30 foot room, like, every time, which, you know, is...
Yeah.
It's a fine default to have, but
Yeah.
then if there's now a large creature there...
How did it even get there?
How did it get there? Your players are probably screwed.
Yep.
Because they can never run away from this thing.
They have one wall
Yeah,
that
like,
they can hug.
Which sometimes is fine.
Yeah.
I think that it's, like, if you purposely want to trap your characters, then, like, it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that people need to put more thought into it. And I also think that, again, I just get upset when I see every, like, creature that's bigger than a human is, like, just, like, large by default, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know why, like, how it's large.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, this kind of comes back to the, like, sizing that I talked about versus, like, the height.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, it would be, like, another thing to keep track of, and I understand that that's not what they were trying to do, but then you could have, like, some really cool things. So, like, let's take this bullet. So, bullets are long, but I don't imagine they're too tall. Like, they're probably, like, at most 5 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
So, this is where you could, like, put them into, like, I don't know, really, like, a short and wide room.
Yeah.
Like a crack or a crevice, like a naturally formed, like, tectonic plate kind of thing. Where you couldn't do that with a giant, right?
No.
And then so if any of your players are, like, tall, then you could say, oh, you're ducking down. So
yeah.
you've given, like, disadvantage to range attacks or something like that. This is, like, kind of like a dynamic battlefield, forcing your players to think. But as per, like, it is right now, like, that doesn't do anything, right? Like, that doesn't matter. And, like, I just feel as if it's too restricting to just say something is like, oh, it's 15 by 15 feet, right? Like, or it's 10 by 10 feet. Height doesn't really matter, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, as long as your passage is at least one size smaller, then, like, that's the rule, then you can, like, squeeze through it, right? So, a large bullet can fit in a 5x5 tunnel. That makes sense to me totally. But a large dragon, like a young dragon, like, squeezing, like, getting its wings all furled behind it, it's like, I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
So this is where, in my opinion, and I'm not gonna do, like, I don't even do this in my own game, but every time I just open the page, I would be like, you know, a dragon is like 10 by 20.
Okay. I was just gonna ask if, like, using the blood as the example again, if you would take it as far as to be like, it takes a 5 by 15 area.
Absolutely. Like, and I think that, like, that makes more sense for, like, quote-unquote realism. And I understand that you don't play D&D for realism.
Right.
But I think that it can at least, like, lean on it a little bit.
Okay.
What this does as a DM also makes you think of more organic feeling scenarios.
Okay.
Like, it makes you think about how your thing is where it is. How long has it been there? Has it adapted to its environment? Has it made its environment adapted to it? So this is, like, where, like, a dragon's lair, let's say, then, like, you could flavorfully kind of drop hints that, like, something is in here by saying, like, if, like, somebody looks at the wall, let's say, you could tell that they've been carved at and scratched at over the years as if by claws, like large claws. You can see there's grooves of various sizes as if it's been growing here. And then this is why I say that size matters, because I kind of fall into a trap of, like, you know, every corridor is 5 by 5 or 10 by 5, like,
yeah.
And, like, that's, again, fine, but you really want, I think that dynamically sizing your battlefield to fit your monster is good.
Oh, but you have to size the rooms and hallways around it, too. Then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, how did your chimera or chimera, how did your dragon, how did your, like, I don't know, what else guards treasure?
Beholder.
How did your beholder? Well, I mean, beholder's kind of... Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did it get there?
Yeah, exactly.
Why does it make sense that it's there? And then how does the size of it play into that? And
Yep.
I also am just mad. I think that the 3rd edition had a great way of doing sizes. So in 3rd edition, again, like I said, I know that 5th edition tried to streamline everything, but in 3rd you could be fine, diminutive, tiny, small, medium, large, huge, gargantuan, colossal, or colossal plus. And all of those things included a height and a length, which are 2 separate measurements, a weight, a space category, as well as a reach, like a natural reach of both the tail, not tail, a reach vertically and horizontally. Okay. So it gave you like a tall reach and a long reach, right? So, if you're colossal, you have a 30-foot vertical reach and a 20-foot length reach, which is now included in like attacks and things like that, which I understand. But still, like, it makes more sense. You can reach higher up than you can. Like, no dragon. Attacks in 3rd and 5th edition don't change based on their attacking up or like vertically. You don't get a weight category. You can't like, and all of these things, even in 5th edition, matter, right? Like, bridges are still gonna have like weight capacities. Yep. Like natural rock slides can occur if like a loose rock happens. Height matters. Like all of these things. Length matters, especially so in my opinion. All I'm trying to say is that 5th edition, although
there's like 5 size categories.
Yeah, like it's overly streamlined in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go with so few size categories, I think that's fine. I think that you should give better description of them than just like 20 by 20. A purple worm is
it's coiled. It's coiled in a 20 by 20.
That makes no sense. It's what, gargantuan, right? That's the largest size. Yeah, so it's supposed to be, it takes about 20 by 20 foot square, right?
Yep.
That makes no sense.
No.
At all.
No.
This thing is at like
it
should be like
it's beyond
10
huge
by 100.
Yeah.
Not 20 by 20.
Well, we touched on this too during the Elder Elemental episode. We were talking about the Leviathan.
Yeah.
Which like
it's a Leviathan
crushes
or
ships.
A Kraken.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Or an Aboleth.
Yep.
How is that 20 by 20?
Oh my god, it's like, I hate that.
It's like 20 by 80. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
So, this is where I think the DMs should, instead of just saying, because like if I say to my players, it's huge, they're like, oh, it's 15 by 15. Like they have come accustomed with like this.
Yeah.
I think that is bad. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, especially with those examples we just give, I think that huge and large are okay.
Yep.
I still think they have their flaws.
Yeah. But once it starts getting into
even huge,
the
I think,
bigs.
like huge and gargantuan, I think are just grossly overgeneralized.
If you think about a creature, what creature in the entire monster manual actually takes up a 20 by 20 square?
A large ooze.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like the only like blocky. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Or like I don't know how to pronounce this creature. It's the like white garbage creature that's name begins with an O. It's like an blue.
Oh.
I have never in my life been able to pronounce the name of it properly. One second, I'm gonna look it up.
Is it a monster manual?
Yeah.
Blue.
Obviously, it's not an blue. Otyugh. Otyugh. Anyways, it's large. It's 10 by 10. This is a thing I can see being 10 by 10.
Yep.
It's a 4-legged creature
Yep.
that's quite broad and quite long. This, I think, makes perfect sense to be a large creature.
Yep.
A Pegasus is a large creature.
Yeah.
Like, its wingspan might be 20 by 20, but it's a horse.
Yeah.
Even if it's a large horse,
right.
It's not going to be more than, like, 5 by 10, right?
Yeah.
I think that the overly generalized, like I said, I think that medium's fine. I think small for the most part is fine. Large sometimes is a little dicey. Like a Remmerhaze. Let's look at this thing.
Yep.
This is a large centipede-like creature, right? But this thing is not 10 by 10.
No.
It's maybe 5x15, as I would say. Which, again, like, if we're doing surface area, I feel like some people might call me, like, a nitpick because of this, but I honestly believe that that it matters, right? Okay. Let me read to you a blurb. At first sight, a rock's silhouette looks like any other bird of prey. As it descends, its unearthly size becomes terrifyingly clear. In flight, a rock's wingspan spends 200 feet or more. This monstrous bird rivals the oldest dragons. Guess what size it is?
Is it huge?
It's gargantuan.
It's gargantuan.
It's 20 by 20. Its 200-foot wingspan, however, not...
That is so stupid.
What?
Yeah.
And
no, that doesn't make any sense.
And if this thing is saying it just barely rivals dragons...
Yeah.
Then that gives us also a sizing for dragons. Have you ever played a dragon with a 200-foot wingspan? Have you ever played it like it has a 200-foot wingspan?
No, definitely not.
No. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no. That is really silly.
I think...
I'm so happy that you found that.
Anything that's not just, like, shaped like a humanoid... I think is just a bad
needs
fit.
Needs to have its own dimensions.
Needs to have some sort of descriptor. Or even if they did like they did in 3rd edition, where they gave it a length.
Yeah.
Like for Colossal,
yep,
it says it's like 64 feet-ish in length. And Colossal Plus, it says it can be even more than that. Like Colossal Plus is like the whole like...
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Tarrasque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even give us that.
Yeah.
Give us one thing bigger than Gargantuan that says, like... This creature does not fit in regular sizing. Read its description. Like, obviously they're not going to do that because they're trying to make rules for a game, right?
Yeah.
But I think this has been oversimplified because, like, again, would you ever give so that means that at minimum, if you want your players to fight an ancient dragon, which is totally, like, one of the most, I would say, common endgame fights, then you are looking at minimum, a 500-foot cavern for them to fight upon.
Yeah.
Like, because it's going to need...
Because that would be spacious enough for a dragon to be like, this is my room.
Exactly. And also, what does that mean for its wing attack, right?
Yeah.
It literally has a wing... Does it all, like, get 200 feet of range? I mean, I don't think that it should, because that sounds disgustingly broken. But I'm just saying, this might lead you to... more ideas, right? Like, I think it has like a 15-foot reach right now on its wing attack. I'm going to look up dragons now because now I want to...
Do you also want to touch on the 3.5 turning mechanic?
Okay, I will very shortly, even though that's kind of silly and it was released in a splat book, but I like it a lot. Yeah, this thing says within 15 feet, and that's for the ancient dragon. But it just said it had a wingspan of 200 feet.
Yeah.
And I understand the entire wing is not going to be as powerful as, like, the space within 15 feet. But, like, if you're flapping 200 feet wing, well, I guess 100-foot wings on either side. But still, like...
15 feet in front of them?
Yeah. No. Yeah. And about turning. So, in 3rd edition, there was a dragon... splat book released that was like specifically about dragons and like had rules for like raising dragons from eggs and like training them and riding them.
Yep.
And one of the suggested ideas was that dragons should have turning speeds or like have to use movement to turn. And I think even I think this is overly realistic. And it does make sense. So what it said is that for each like 90-degree turn a dragon wants to do, that it requires, I think, like 10 feet of movement. So if it wanted to do like a 180, it would need to like turn 10 feet to the right.
Yeah.
Then turn an additional 10 feet to the right and essentially just make a U-ey like in a car. So yeah, it essentially just turned dragons into cars.
Well, they can't just flip around.
Cars don't just like turn around on dimes, right?
No.
Like, which is, you know, a cool thing to think about, but even I think that's like...
Yeah.
You probably don't need to do that.
Yeah, no.
So what are the takeaways that I want people to get from this episode besides Nathan is mad? Think about the size of your creatures. Think about them in terms of realism, slightly. So I would say... And also it just gives your players, like, instead of just saying a large creature appears, like, because everything is,
Mm-hmm.
you can make it a little more flavorful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can say, like, a beast the height of insert player character name here, but, like, 20 feet long with a tail as long as its body appears. And, like,
Yeah.
like, you know, and then it breathes fire at you, right? And you're like, ah, it's a dragon, right? Like, that's scary.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, a large creature appears, it bites at you.
Yeah.
Think about the size of where your creature is fighting. Creatures, like, even if they're stupid, they're still not going to put themselves in a spot that's going to, like, give themselves disadvantage at fighting.
Yeah.
As well as, like, if you have to, think about adapting your environment to the creature as opposed to the creature adapting to the environment. Like, there's no reason that, like, it can't be living there. Like, your beholder has a disintegration ray, so it can create itself a bigger layer. It can literally, like, disintegrate the wall. Or your bullet can make itself a tunnel, or your dragon can scratch out its claws, or your freaking elder elemental kraken Leviathan isn't going to be living in a river somewhere.
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm sorry, Loch Ness Monster. Like,
the Leviathan's not going to be in a 20 by 20 pond in the middle of the forest.
Exactly. Like, even if your thing is supposed to be 20 by 20.
Yeah.
So let's say that, like, it's a full cube of 20 by 20 by 20. Like, it's not going to be in a 40 by 40 by 40, pool of water, right?
Yeah.
I think that for creatures huge and up, you should ditch the monster manual sizing and just go with your own. I think that makes more sense. I think it puts a little more realism in the game. Also, it just makes your players, the scope of it, be understood. Like, if I'm, like, against a Kraken, I'm like, oh, it's 20 by 20. Like, you're like, oh, I'm, like, 5 by 5. Like, I understand it's, like, 4 times as large as me with his... But, like...
But it's
way larger than that. It's, like, when you say this, like, 60 by 100, like, literal being of primordial evil appears in front of you,
Yep.
I'm gonna start pooping my pants. In a good way.
What?
Like, in a flavorful way. Like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
god, like, now there's, like, already there's that additional layer of, like, stress, like, this thing is huge, how are we gonna deal with this?
You could even do, like, the trope of the Kraken remains hidden, and, like, a tentacle comes up,
Or, like...
and it's just ginormous.
Or, like, an eye opens up in front of you, and the eye is the size of you.
Yeah.
Like, the classic, like, movie where it's, like, back framed, and you're, like, the person's back is to, like, the camera, and then, like, the eye opens, and you see the person silhouetted in the eye. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That gives scope to things. But you can't do that if a creature's 20 by 20.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't work out that way.
And it just doesn't fit. Not everything's a square.
Except oozes.
Except oozes. You know what? I will give Wizards that if you want to make an Elder Ooze, make it exactly 20 by 20.
There it is.
I'm so fine with that.
Why would an Elder Ooze exist?
What? Oozes literally just exist to eat. If it's been untouched long enough, that's actually a hook that I had.
Oh, okay.
It's like this, like, ooze has become so big that it's filled. See? This is why size matters. I should have used this from the beginning. An ooze has eaten so much that it's filled, like, this cavernous underground dungeon.
Okay.
To the point it's spilling out into the world.
Okay.
And then it has found ritualistic cultists that worship it and feed it, like, every day.
Oh.
And this thing becomes bigger and bigger and has ravaged the landscape because it's acidic.
Oh.
Has just oozed into the earth.
Yep.
And I can't even remember what I called it, but it was like the eternal hunger or something, like the all eating, something like that. Yeah. And then, like, how do you deal with that? How do you even begin fighting that?
I was just gonna ask.
Right.
What was your plan for combat?
This is I never intended for them to fight it.
Yeah.
Like, this is something unfightable.
Yeah.
This is, at this point, it's more of a terrain piece than anything else. But like, that's a scope of the world, right?
Yeah.
That's like, that gives them this idea of, like, wow. So it like, first of all, it says this world is old. There's things that have already been established in this world. There's things out of my control that are bigger than me. Literally and figuratively. Get a little play on words there. And it also, like, it's cool because maybe they come up with a way of, like, clearing it out. Like, I don't know. Maybe they collapse the entire, like, rock formation it's above like
your players will come up with ideas that
exactly.
you could never have even imagined.
Exactly, and then I can be like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
But it's just like I couldn't do that if I just followed the monster manual.
Yeah,
right.
no.
And like obviously even wizards in like the disclaimers they say they're not meant to be followed to the T. Like
they're guidelines.
Yeah, but I think those are poopy guidelines. And I'm sorry that this has essentially just been a rant where I'm speaking and you've said nothing, but whatever.
That's okay.
That's my take on it.
It's all right.
That's why size matters.
Well, I have a rant planned. We'll do at a later date.
Is it the F word?
It is the F word. But for now, just get it all off your chest, man.
It's basically off.
Amazing.
That's all I'm trying to say. Be wary, be intelligent. Medium creatures are fine. Most large creatures are fine. Huge or bigger, change them up. Okay, bye. Oh god, what's another thing that's large? Adrian, edit this out.
Monster manual. Open up to a large creature. Dang it. Open up to a large creature. A Eulitharid.